this, and this should be recording, right?
So,
Maybe.
I have a question about parse here. So that's open source, meaning that if we made an app and sold it on the app market, we couldn't use it.
I don't know. I can't imagine that you wouldn't.
You can use it without any legal.
Yeah, I mean it's out there. I think it's open source.
Yeah.
The Farseer piece at least is.
Yeah.
So I would just read the EULA that they have.
You know it's based on Box 2D, right?
Yeah.
Oh, then yeah, then definitely.
I think the thing that you have to do is just like in the code you have to leave credit to the original people.
Yeah, but who cares? At the very beginning, you look at any game. What do they have? Are the first couple of
The
screens?
engine thing.
It says, "Hey, here's our physics engine. Here's WWise. Here's Fmod. Here are the technologies that we use. Here are the the publishers, all that stuff. Who cares? You want to make money, don't you?
We want to know how to
And actually, that's kind of ties in with what we're talking about today.
If I don't get sued, yeah, I'm successful.
Yeah, and even if you do get sued and the game is successful, then maybe you could still be successful. And I'm not suggesting anybody go down this dark path of evil and sell your soul and all that kind of thing.
sell our soul.
So this actually, I think we had talked about this before. When you get hired, why are they hiring you?
Marketing.
Because they want to make money. Realize that at the end of the day, the people that are running these companies typically, the video game is just a product that they're selling, and they want to make money. And so that's why they're hiring you, because you can make that possible for them. Another piece of this is the marketing piece, and a lot of times, why can't I run this slideshow? Current slide. A lot of times people skip over this. I'll go ahead and tell you, I've seen a lot of companies formed and a lot of companies fail, and the number one reason that they fail is because you get a whole bunch of smart people together, and they're all smart, and they know that they're smart, so what do they think they can do? They can do everything. They can make money. But just because you're smart doesn't mean that you have any business sense. So I've seen this at Georgia Tech time and time again. Georgia Tech folks are really smart, right? Well, I mean, all these professors get together like, okay, we can make a lot of money, and I know this is being recorded. You pick anything, MIT, it doesn't really matter what prestigious university we're talking about. You get a bunch of people together, and they have a good idea, and they have this great product, but what don't they have? Any business sense. And they start doing a whole bunch of stupid things. Like, what's the first thing people want to do when you form a business? How hard is it to form a business, by the way?
You sign a paper.
You sign a paper. It's really not hard. If you have not been incorporated, you should probably go ahead and do that. There's all sorts of tax reasons that you would want to do that. That's a whole separate lecture in dealing with the state of Georgia and IDs and things like that. And yes, I have several of them. It's really pretty easy. You even get a stamp. If there's a motivation for you, it's to get that little metal stamp that you can go and you can squish down on something and it actually stamps things. That's really cool. But anyway, so yeah, you have to bring in business people, because just because you have a good product doesn't mean that you're going to be able to sell that product, that you're going to be able to run this company. I see it time and time again. Hey, we're now official. We have our stamp. And what's the next thing that you want to do?
Market.
Huh? No, no, that's not what people are thinking. We're legitimate. They want to start spending money. How? That's exactly right.
Company card.
What's the first thing that people want to do?
Make things.
Start on a project.
I don't get
They
it.
want-
Salary. They want to get salary.
They want to rent a space to work. They want an office
Yeah.
because they're legitimate. Is that what you want to do? No. Why not work from home? Enjoy. Everybody's like, no, we're a company. We must get to. No. Why do you need space? You have space in your house, and believe it or not, if you do things cleverly, you can write off part of your house. You can write off your cable, your internet, because that is a business expense. You can write off the heating and the air conditioning of that space, but you don't write off that space itself. Why not? Because when you go to sell your house, then they'll say that is an office space and you have all of these taxes and everything else. You don't want to do that. So what about your computer?
That is
definitely a write-off, right? What about all of these things that you normally pay for when you have to go and visit a client, something like that? Absolutely. So there's lots of reasons that you would want to do this in forming your own company. But my first recommendation is that you get somebody that knows how to run a business. You bring in a business major. How many people even know a business major? A couple of you. Bring them into your company and help them define and market and tell you how to run this company, because if you don't do that, then it's probably destined to fail. A whole bunch of nerds get together, you're not going to be successful, chances are. Okay, so today we're going to talk about marketing. What do you know about marketing? What is marketing? Brand Branding is part of it.
Getting your
Selling
name
your
out.
product.
Yeah, getting your name out there, selling your product, all of these kinds of things. How do you do it? Let's say that you have the next Angry Birds. And the reason I'm using Angry Birds is not because I'm this loser. I know what, there's a lot of other things. Everybody knows what Angry Birds is, and if you don't, you're in the wrong class. Okay? Or Plants vs. Zombies, doesn't matter. Pick your game. Okay? So if we were going to do this, how would you market? What process would you even use?
Know what the demographic is.
Okay, you know your demographic. That's in your game concept doc, right? Keep going.
Social media.
Social media, that's one of the first things. Facebook, right?
Target audience, what they use, and then advertise them.
Okay, look at what your demographics use and then advertise there. Yes?
Figure out where your demographic has its size in years.
Yeah, that's basically what Hugh said. Yeah, same idea. What else? Okay, so Facebook. What else could we use?
Fan sites.
I mean, you could do in-game.
Fan sites. Yeah, we're going to hit on that. What else?
Use advertisement on
You can get other companies to advertise your game in-game.
How many people have no clue what they would do? It's fair enough to say, right? Some people say, I'm going to try this. How about the App Store? Everybody has, Play Store, Google, Android. You have iPhone, something like that. Why not just dump it on there?
Then no one will.
Well, you can do that. You have to get your friends to review your game.
What about
Make a whole
Steam?
bunch of dumb-
Steam is easy to get on, right?
No.
You have to get
You can get green lighted. That's one approach, yeah.
That's $100. That's ridiculous.
That's a whole $100.
You start thinking about it. How much time and energy and all of these assets are you purchasing, everything else, are you going to invest in this? And you're not investing in marketing. You have to have a marketing plan up front if you're really serious about making it out there, right? It's not, before you even do one line of code, you need to figure out how you're going to market this thing. You have an idea, everything else. Now, where are you going to push it out? How are you going to get it out there, okay? So the game industry is clearly growing. How big is it?
Multi-billion dollars.
Huh? 3 billion?
No, that's way off.
Much, does it say that there? It's much bigger than the movie industry, which gives me a job. In fact, somebody told me this morning, and I think it was CNN Money, said that the top 10 things to go into, we're now in the top 10. The gaming industry is now in the top 10 to say, if you want to be hired, this is something. But again, it goes back to you have to be good. A good game developer is a good computer scientist, and if you haven't realized that yet, then you're missing something. Okay, so anyway, the game industry is growing. Yes, it's much larger than the film industry. Now it's legitimate. Before it was just a whole bunch of nerds playing games, and now it's something legitimate. Yeah, that's fine, but now we're rich, right? But yeah, it's a lot different than it used to be. And I think, Ross, and I hate to keep pointing you out, and I come from an older generation. I don't know if anybody here is I'm not going to even ask how old you are. But in that olden day, when you played video games, you were an outcast. It's like, oh, you're just one of those nerdy folks who's hanging out on their Commodore 64 or Nintendo or whatever the device was. It didn't really matter. And now it's just this mainstream kind of thing. Everybody plays games. Does everybody play games?
Yes.
Just about. My mom even plays Plants vs. Zombies. And that's weird to think, okay, you've got a grandmother that's out there playing it. But there's a whole wide demographic, right? And so you have to figure that out. There's floods of new games out there. So the question is, how do we get past all of the noise of what's out there? How many apps, how many games can you download in the App Store?
A lot.
How many of them are free?
A lot.
So what's going to differentiate your game from everything else?
It's a
Do you know what's really going to make the difference?
The icon.
Name and what picture.
A 57 by 57 pixel size little icon that you have there. You think about it, as they're going through 100,000 different kind of applications, and they're all free, right? They all start out free anyway. Why is somebody going to click on your icon versus somebody else's icon? Because it's shiny. As dumb as that sounds, that's the number one recommendation. After they click on that, you've got the little shiny candy-like button, right? Then what do they see? Screenshots. You dump all of your time into those screenshots because they're going to go, yep, that looks lame or that looks cool, and then they'll continue and actually, potentially, download and install it. Maybe. But think about it. You have access to all of these apps. Why don't you have all of these apps on your device? So you start thinking about the psychology that goes on back behind this. There are floods of new games, and you have to make yourself different than all of these guys. Okay? So, is it time to back up?
Yeah.
I found out this is not a, this part right here is not a virus anyway. I think it's something like Norton, something, it looks virus-like. Yeah, it might as well be, yes. Okay. I think Adobe is a virus. But, other than that. Okay, so what is a publisher?
Somebody
Someone with
who
a lot of
connects you
money.
with advertisers.
Basically, it's the person that's doing the advertising for you. But they do a lot more than that. It used to be back in the days, you'd go in, you would buy a game. Where would you buy your games?
From a physical place.
The Best Buy, Walmart, all of these places. In fact, what was one of the most popular games? Deer Hunter. Why? Because it was sold in Walmart, right? And people would walk through and say, hey, there's a deer on the cover. That looks pretty cool. And they'd have some kind of cover art and everything else. And people would buy that. In fact, I don't know if you've seen Big Rigs Trucking, Off-Road Trucking, the worst game ever made, kind of thing. That sold like I think they made $20 million on that. And it didn't even work. Do you know why? Because it was sold big rig trucks in places like Walmart. And people would walk by and say, hey, this looks like a really cool game. And as soon as you open that box, what happens? You cannot take it back. Any of that media says this is non-refundable. Once you buy it, you buy it. So they walked off with a whole bunch of money, and now people make fun of it. It doesn't matter when you're sitting on the beaches of the Bahamas. Now, I'm not recommending that you do any of that stuff. Right now we have meta scores and things like that. So anyway, several years ago, it used to be a real pain because you had to find a publisher, and you had to pitch to a publisher and say, these are the kinds of games that I want to make, or this is the specific game I want to make. And then it was up to them to say whether or not they wanted to fund all of this. So you were asking them for money, or potentially you were asking them just to push your product out there. So what would they do? They would go and they would talk with Best Buy, and they would say, okay, here are the following things that we want to do in your store, or GameStop. When you walk into GameStop, what do you see?
Everything. I see
Displays and
You see displays, you see all sorts of mess, right? The good thing about this is that the publisher assumed a lot of the risk. How much does it cost to, let's say, make a little package with a CD and a manual and stuff like that? It's not a whole lot, but when you multiply that by a million, it starts to get really expensive. And so you think about it, who was it? The president of Tripwire mortgaged their house? Yeah, something like that. So you're talking about a huge amount of risk. How many people would be willing to mortgage their house on a bet to say that your game is going to be successful?
Depends on
That guy did. And that's hardcore. And that's something that I personally would not be willing to do. So you think about it, the publisher is throwing a lot of money out there, and they're taking a lot of this risk. They have the money, so it's up to them, right? So if you're using a publisher, you have to determine who does the marketing, right? Typically it's them. What activities will they do? And you need this in writing. What activities will you do? Who's going to get the credit? It could be that, you know what, hey, you're the developer, we're the publisher, so we're not going to even mention you at all. Would you be mad?
That's like when
a little.
I worked on this game, and you don't see anything about your company, anything. It just says, brought to you by...
I'm going to insert an Easter egg in the code that gets my
Yeah, like Easter eggs, it says, hey, up, down,
That's
down,
how
right?
a lot of publishers would like to.
Also, Steam does this a lot. Is your game going to be grouped with others? Think about it. With Steam, everybody, how many people are on Steam? Right, a fair number of you are on Steam. What do? How does their marketing work?
bundles.
They have bundles all the time. They have sales. You think about it. When you negotiate with Steam, I have not negotiated with Steam ever, actually. Okay, and they say we own this game essentially, and we'll sell it at whatever we want to sell it at. Do you care?
Yes.
Because what they'll do is they'll pop up flash sale, and your game that you thought was going to sell for $10 goes down to $1. Are you upset about that?
we sell 6 million copies.
That depends.
You have to understand that people like Steam or groups like Steam want to make money just as much as you do, right? So what they're going to do is they're going to play with that price point of where people are going to want to buy that game. And they're like, oh, gosh, it's at 10%. Heck yeah, I'm going to buy that. And boom, overnight, you've just made $1 million. Just because they have the distribution channel. So it's a lot different than working with a traditional publisher. Yes.
There's also the fact that people tend to buy more of something if they think that.
If a game is popular, people will buy it because it's popular.
Yeah, but also, like, if someone sees that it's got a price marked down for, like, a limited time, that can encourage people to buy it.
How many people have bought games just because it was on sale and never even played them?
Oh, my God. I have, like, 7.
Okay. Yeah, I don't even want to show you my Steam library. People are like, Jeff, you haven't played? No, but I own it. Jeff, you haven't played? No, I own that one too. But I mean, I own just tons and tons of games because they go on sale. And I'm like, I'm going to play this game. I am still trying to finish Borderlands 2. I'm level 31. Don't tell me the ending. I don't want to hear anything.
Don't sell.
Same thing except on my level 11.
Okay. And no, I will not friend you on Steam. Yes.
I told my girlfriend I'm investing
for retirement.
Okay. I tell my wife when I'm playing it, but I'm doing research. Okay, so let's talk about advertising. So there are the traditional outlets that you have, TV, magazines, and store displays. I think everybody has seen these. If you make it on a cereal box, please come back and tell me about it. I think that would be sweet to be on a cereal box. I actually was almost on a cereal box. Cheerios wanted an augmented reality display Honey Nut Cheerios thing where you aim your phone at it and a little bee comes out and all that stuff. It didn't work out. That's too bad. Of course, there's online opportunities. Everybody knows these things. And then you get into retail advertising. And it's interesting how they do this. So you use your game as a way to promote the PS3. That's not going to happen to you, chances are, right? Hey, buy the PS4 and your game will be on it. No, it's not going to happen. Yeah, play my 2D platformer. Right? It's not going to happen. They can be played in stores as demos. So you walk into a GameStop, what do you see? You see all these demos and everything else. But this is what I really wanted to point out. What is an end cap? It's the end of the aisle, okay? So you look at end cap, you talk about eye level kind of stuff. Why do I put all these dollar signs here? Because if you're on an end cap and you're at eye level, you have paid a mass amount of money to be there. In fact, this is the way that all advertising, it doesn't matter if you're in Publix. You walk down the aisle, whatever's at eye level is the most expensive. You don't believe me? Go through there and do a brand comparison, and you always see like the Publix stuff or the Kroger stuff or whatever that. Yeah, I'm like constantly. I might as well just be down here the whole time because that's what I'm buying. But you people pay for this eye level stuff because that's what they want to be seen. The end cap is the same way. When you go around, everybody's checking out the end caps. So the end caps are really expensive, and this eye level stuff is really expensive. Cardboard cutouts. Everybody like, hey, cardboard's cheap.
No.
How much space does it take up in the store? A mass amount. I mean, we've got some cardboard cutouts that are this tall. That takes up a huge amount of space that could be used for selling games. So when you see these cardboard cutouts, say somebody paid a heck of a lot of money for that. It's just the way it works. Okay. Also getting heard, you have enthusiast magazines, GamePro magazine, these kinds of things. Enthusiast sites, GameSpot, IGN, you guys have probably hit these things before. Has anybody watched G4?
It's gone. It's gone. Finally.
Did anybody get a chance?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I used to watch that all the time, right when it came out, and it was the stupidest looking thing you've ever seen. It's like the game shows that they would have, like, okay, let's have dad versus son, and they would play video games, and of course the son would tear the dad apart. It was kind of goofy. It was almost like MTV. Nobody saw MTV a long, long time ago. MTV
When they actually
was,
played music.
okay, yeah, it was
music.
awkward. I mean, it was just like a home network show or something like that, and now they have full-blown TV programs. Yes?
They used to have a show on G4 where like they teach you how to use your computer
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff.
Yeah, they had geeky kind of stuff like that too, and how to configure your RAM savers.
I didn't explain cheap.
Yeah, they used to do all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, those are different avenues that now it doesn't exist. You can also do process. You can do things like email the editor of a magazine or some kind of website and say, do you have interest in this? We'll talk about this. You actually have to pitch it to the editor to say, would you be willing to talk about my game? And also, once you're 90% of the way done, you can start to do something called a media tour. What goes on in a media tour?
You let people play your game.
You let people play your game and you hold your breath, right? Because they're going to go through there, and what if it crashes? Was anybody at Siege?
Yeah.
Okay, how many people went down and saw the Smite competition?
Oh, yeah.
And I felt sorry for the spokesperson there because Smite crashed, and how long did it take them to get going? Like 2 hours or something?
It crashed for a reason.
Yeah, they had just pushed out some new things.
It crashed for a reason.
It always crashed.
No, what I'm saying is, you think about it.
As in, like, somebody intentionally crashed it.
I remember having to do big time. I mean, I had billionaires in, and I had to give demos to billionaires, and that's not an exaggeration. I know.
Give demos.
It was, yes, it was. They said, Jeff, you're very good at speaking, as I'm stuttering all this kind of stuff out. I said, okay, sure, I'll do this. And so I would have to do these kind of demos that were mobile devices, and I would say, here's how you interact with this. And they would come in, and if it crashed, then what do you think would happen?
You would
These were people that were going to invest in the technology, everything else. And if stuff crashes for a reason, I don't care why, if it crashes, you're screwed. And so every time you give a demo, you need to be holding your breath, unless that stuff is rock solid. I gave a demo in front of 60,000 people before. When I worked with Duran Duran, they were like, oh, what's this augmented reality stuff? And guess what happened? Crashed. You know why?
Reasons.
The fog machine. The fog machine, if you know how fog machines work, they spit out this oil-based kind of stuff, and it started getting sucked in there. Could not reproduce the crash. We tried it time and time again, and it crashed, and Simon Le Bon, the lead singer, walks off the stage, and we're down here in the pit thinking, oh, God, what's going to happen? And I won't even tell you what he said as he was walking off the stage, and that was the last time that thing went on. It was over. It was coolest technology, but no, it's not in his concert. So anyway, yeah, you do this media tour kind of thing, and you hope that it doesn't crash. And then you have fan sites. Now, it says that you want to start 2 years early. Why? It's going to take you 2 years to develop this. Why would you start that early? You start building up the hype. Everything's about hype, right? If you look at any device or any of that kind of stuff, they start talking about, oh, this thing's going to be able to do this, and this is the kind of gameplay you're going to have. And people start to get interested. Why is that so cool? Because the day that you release, what's going to happen? They're going to buy it. Hopefully they're going to buy it. So you really want to start early. This is not true for all genres of games, but it is true for most of them. Also, you can do things like give swag, T-shirts. How many people have a T-shirt of a game that you play? Something like that. Right? Inside scoops. You now know how to do whatever kind of amazing thing. Hands-on gameplay, all that mess. Okay, there's public opportunities. You can do a press release. What is a press release? It's something that's totally made up. I've written press releases before. Now we're talking about this revolutionary new technology that will change the way that you interact with the world and blah, 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 blah. Right? And so you come out with these press releases. How many press releases can you push out? As many as you want. Yeah. So you can say, hey, we had a press release. And it's just basically a post to your website. It's a press release, right? So these things are really easy to do. You just have to make sure that the wording is good. You can provide early screenshots. What should those shots look like?
Very, very nice.
Shining.
Exciting.
Living art.
You can do kind of whatever you want to there. In fact, some people have cheated and they've shown shots that actually don't exist. If you had a good artist, they can say, this is what it's going to look like. And it could not look
Concept art.
It's concept art, right? So you can push some concept art and try to build up the hype, right? So, and I'm not suggesting deception. That's not really the point. It's just something that captures the idea. Send character art to media. This is kind of cool. And you want to be selective about this. Save the best thing for the top sites. Why?
Because they give you better reviews.
They give you better. They have a larger fan base, right? So as you push these things out, you have a lot of different media outlets that you can go to. You want to save the best stuff, the exclusives for whoever you think you're going to get the furthest with, right? More press releases. Hey, here's the first look at the game. It could be just about anything, right? Do a question and answer interview for the unusual things. In fact, we're going to talk about that. Talk about reviews. Check in on your review sites, and you're going to see people that say, oh, this thing was the latest thing ever, and it hurt your feelings. And then some people like, this is awesome. Tips and tricks, exclusive access, and promote your awards game of the day to fan sites.
I remember that magazine.
Yeah. Also, so contacting the media. If you really are trying to do this, I wouldn't recommend contacting the media by yourself. Typically, you have people who are media experts that are tied in with your marketing group. Okay, so you're going to buy a media database, Cision or Vocus. I haven't messed with either one of these things, but apparently it's a large database full of people that you could contact. Make sure that, yeah, it's up to date, but also make sure that it's the right genre. You don't want to contact Cosmopolitan and tell them, hey, we've got this great new game coming out. They're not really going to care. You wouldn't get in that anyway. Also, news releases, you want to keep it secret until the release date. You want to release these things out. And also, this is the most important part. When you contact somebody, you want to use this inverted pyramid format. Have you heard of this before? Yeah, I know what an inverted pyramid looks like, but what does that term mean? If you're going to give some kind of press release, or you're going to read some kind of article, how is that laid out?
Most interesting thing first, and then
The most interesting thing first, like the most generic, broad, interesting thing, you put that at the top, and then what happens? A little bit more details that are added there, and then what happens? You get a whole bunch of details. Why do you do that? Because if somebody's interested and you put all the details at the very top, what's going to happen? They're immediately not going to read it. Some people just want to skim the headlines, and they're going to say, give me the nugget that I need to know, and then I'm not going to even do the rest. So you try to capture that, and then if they're still waiting by the time you get down to page 17, what do you know?
They want your game.
They want, well, not just the game, but they want all the details you can give them. So you kind of do this inverted pyramid on how you present the information. Okay. Oh, also, terms that you'll hear. What is a cover? Everybody knows what a cover is. Come on, what's a cover?
Game cover.
It's the front page, right? What is an ear? I didn't know this until I read the book.
The sidecar?
Yeah, it's the little text that you see on the side, right? So you'll have the cover art. It's going to have like Laura Croft or something like that. And then you have all of these other additional text that's on the side. Those are called ears. Okay? How many people have been to GDC? How was it?
It was intense.
It was intense. Very long days, actually, right? One of the things that you have at GDC is something that all of you should go to at some point. Start saving money now. It's expensive. You have to get out to San Francisco. That's where it is. But that's where the jobs are. You can go there. Everybody from the world comes to GDC. It is a massive, massive event. Would you not agree? How many people would you say were there? 75, 100,000 people, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
The whole entire convention center was packed.
It's just mad. I mean, it's just nothing but nerds everywhere, and you can tell them, and you'll see it when you get out there. But anyway, one of the things is the expo hall, and this is where people are talking about all the different technologies that are coming out. The expo hall a little bit later on turns into the hiring hall. So you go there, and you'll see people, and this is no joke. Some people have the mohawk with the giant purple spikes and everything, and a full business suit on. Mm-hmm. And they're applying for both the business position and the purple mohawk position in the company. And you see that all the time. It takes a huge, diverse skill set to really push these games out there. So you see a very diverse set. Nothing really outlandish here, but you do see the people totally covered, head to toe, face, everything, and tattoos, all the piercings, right next to somebody who looks like the most conservative business person you've ever seen. And that they're talking, having a meaningful conversation. And this is where the hiring goes on right here. They shut it down. They say, okay, now we're going to hire a whole bunch of people. You go in there, you stand in line, and you say, here's what I can do for your company. This is why you want to hire me, because I will bring you good fortune and fame.
I recommend bringing a foldable chair.
Yeah. So if you're in that queue, I mean, they can be long. Everybody wants to work for EA. How many people? Where do you guys want to work?
Don't work for EA.
Why do you not want to work for EA?
We're not a game publishing company.
I want to work for EA because no one else wants to. I'll get the job.
Everybody wants to work for EA.
No?
Say that again. They chew through the programmers. It's called the meat grinder, right? If you want to work extensive hours, then yeah, there you go. And that's true for a lot of them. So, but there's tons and tons of jobs there. HTML5 is another good one if you want to get into something really quick. Here are other examples of things that you would see: giant screens, 60-foot tall screens, all that kind of mess. They're throwing out soccer balls. I guess is like a FIFA kind of thing. Okay. I always like to see the opposite of things, so I kind of put these in here just for fun. How not to promote your app. So you probably haven't heard of these things because they're shut down so quickly. Let's examine these in detail, shall we? On the left, top left, how to win. So commit acts of lust.
Oh, yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. Okay, so maybe we're going down the wrong path here. Dante's Inferno. Now the second, point 2, prove it. You have to have evidence that you have committed acts of lust. 3, repeat. Okay? And then one hand-picked winner gets, here's the prize, dinner and a sinful night with 2 hot girls, a limo service, paparazzi, and a chest full of booty. This was an advertisement, not a joke, right? This is the way that people advertise it. Over here, I can't even remember what this one was for. It occurred in London. In fact, the one down below did too. This one, you had to roam around the streets of London collecting body parts. It was like some zombie something or other. So you can see he's got a head right here and an arm, and people are making fun of him, and he has no problem with that because he's used to it. Right? Down here below, I thought this was kind of interesting. It was some guerrilla warfare kind of thing in one of these oil-producing, like Venezuela kind of places, and they were giving away free gas. What's the problem when you give away free gas?
There's a lot of people who want that.
Yeah, a lot of people, unusual. They show up to these things. So this guy's being interviewed right here saying, well, how is it that the entire system of road networks and everything around here are shut down? Right? They did this, and it was like rush hour and everything else. Nobody could get to work, everything else. They shut down the streets of whatever city they were in. This one was interesting right here. They put a whole bunch of copies of this game inside the car, and they stuck a sledgehammer next to it, trying to see who would break into the car. It was like a Grand Theft Auto kind of game, something like that. And they just stuck him in there to see who would break into the car. They wanted people to break into the car, so they left the sledgehammer there next to the car. And then that looks fake to me. That looks staged. But yes, they really do stuff like that.
There was also the Hitman Absolution one most recently, where you could put hit outs on your friends on Facebook, and the hits range from everything from they had stupid hair, they're fat, they don't have any friends. And that got taken down the day it went up.
It should, right?
Yeah.
There's just some lines you don't cross.
Was Hitman also here?
No, they're
Oh, God.
I don't know if you've seen this.
Game your mom hates.
I think I need to turn up the volume here.
Yeah. They hired fake protesters outside E3.
I remember.
Hopefully it's not.
I heard about that.
Slideshow. Let's see.
Israel hired fake protesters, Christian protesters, to go outside of E3 and protest their game.
Uh-oh.
Sounds like EA to me.
I saw this online.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I remember this.
Oh my god, I saw this on TV.
Oh, yeah.
This is hilarious. Because Dead Space, not that bad.
Why would they even make it? And then basically, your mom hates this.com. Right? So let's divide the family over a video game. That's a good idea. All right. The next one. And this one was one of my favorites. Yes.
Oh,
yeah. I don't know if you've seen this. In fact, let me. I have to turn up the volume on this one. This one was freaky. And
It didn't freak me out that much when it first came out.
you know, I saw it live when it came out. Like the day that it came out, I was watching TV, and I was seriously disturbed. Like, what just happened? You have to listen too.
That's disturbing.
It's almost as disturbing as the original.
Yeah, but imagine watching TV. I mean, this really happened to me, watching TV, and I thought, what the hell just happened? What were they selling?
Have you seen the advertisement they tried to put out for the Ouya?
No.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see this.
The Ouya. I don't want to do that right now because I'm always afraid to do any Google search or any YouTube search.
Safe search?
No. Safe search does not always guarantee.
At some point.
So let's finish the lecture here. Okay, so here are common reporter questions that you should know just right off the top of your head if you're going to try to promote this thing. So these are things that you should expect. Is this the first title to do whatever? Like, why does anybody care about your game at all? You should be able to say that immediately. Is it based on a new engine technical breakthrough? Is yours?
Yes. Sure. Buzzwords.
I want you to seriously think, why does anybody care about the game that you're making in this class? You're doing it for a grade, right?
Yeah.
But why would anybody else care? Let's imagine that you wanted to market this thing and actually take it. What could you say that's interesting about your game?
Composition of normal.
I want you to say
Traditional.
Is it a hot franchise? Does it have celebrities?
No.
Chances are no. I remember the big deal about Samuel L. Jackson when he got into Grand Theft Auto and that kind of stuff. Does it have an unusual storyline? Chances are yes. Right. Does it have any original characters? Chances are yes. So you start to look at why people want to do this. One of the things that I've always challenged people to do is to create unusual games because they tend to rehash things. I don't know why it's so common, but I challenged you at the very beginning. I said, I want to see weird. And I saw one weird.
That's awesome.
Your game was weird. Oh, take that right. Yeah, the pants off game was definitely unusual. But think about it. People are going to remember these bizarre kinds of things. So you start to think about the psychological trickery that you can do to have people remember this. Also, make sure you have great art for them when you do decide to promote this. Other avenues. So if you're really lucky, you have a party. This one gets home with me.
Out Central Park. Good luck with that.
Okay, it happened. You ever heard of the Gizmondo? The company that I worked for was started by the guy who started Gizmondo. Do you know the story behind Gizmondo?
I will soon enough.
I won't go into the details, but over a 6-month period, I think, I'm trying to remember the number, there was like $360 million. $300 million of it was spent. Right, because this was one of these things that was going to take on the PSP. And it was like the next gaming kind of thing. And the device itself, if you've never seen one, was awesome. I got to work on this. I was developing on this. It was just fantastic. Still, even in today's terms, with as old as this was, it was a 2008, is still a cool technology, right? It's this little kind of thing. You can look it up on there. But anyway, so they had Sting. I don't know if you know who Sting is, right? Yeah. Famous singer. He was doing his, okay, let's promote the Gizmondo there. And they rented out Sting. Hey, come and do our Gizmondo stuff. So if you really like, you could do things like renting out Central Park. Yes, they really did this. Have Sting sing at your promotion. Yes, they really did this. But chances are that's not going to be you. You don't have $300 million that are just laying around. So you can do your own PR, or you can hire your own PR firm. That's what I would recommend if you're really serious about it. If you do want to see this, some of the other shots here, I don't know who any of these people are. Anybody? No, don't know. Anybody? No. Anybody? No, but all of these celebrities showed up. You know why the celebrities showed up?
They were paid to.
Maybe not. Because other celebrities showed up. Oh, you're going, well, I better go then too. Because they wanted to be seen, right? This is the opening of this new kind of big device and everything. So you had people that were showing up that probably weren't paid. You had people that showed up that were paid. And because they were big names, everybody else wanted, oh, well, I'm one of these celebrities too. And they showed up just because that was the thing to do. It's funny. Yeah, let's kill the baby commercial here. I don't... Okay, and then we get to casual games. What do we know about casual games?
They make a lot of money.
They make a lot of money. How much money? 60% of the market of all the money that's out there, right? So people are like, oh, the PlayStation 3, the Wii, they make all the money. No, they don't. It's in mobile and casual games. That's where all the money is actually. Okay? So casual games, of course, play shorter. Everybody knows what a casual game is at this point. These are not your hardcore gamers. How would this affect your marketing?
Very broad.
You don't want to get on set.
You don't have a specific target audience.
You wouldn't put a 2-year leader out there, would you? You would say, okay, we're going to start advertising Angry Birds 2 years before it actually comes out. Why? They don't care.
Yeah, that's not okay.
You advertise the day that it's released kind of thing, or maybe a week before or something like that. The only rule would be something like Plants vs. Zombies 2, because it has such a huge following of Plants vs. Zombies 1, right? So they're really not interested until the game comes out, so you start promoting maybe a month before or something like that. And you do it all online. Online advertising is, of course, cheap, and you can build your developer reputation through things like the Game Developer Magazine, which no longer exists, and Gamasutra. Are you guys on Gamasutra at all? Yeah, you should be on there every day, or at least once a week. Why?
Useful.
Tons of good articles, right? So you can figure out ways of doing things. What else? Jobs. Jobs. That's the answer I was looking for. Yes, we're looking at jobs. We're looking at the skills that we need to have to be employed. And then finally, last thing, this is the last slide right here. This is free. So here's a resource out there for video game marketing and PR. You can click on this link right here. I think it's down here at the bottom. And you can download this right now. So if you are serious about going down the indie path, you might want to download this and at least have a clue about how to market and do some PR for your game. So that's there. It's a little bit old. It's a 2007 copy, I think, but still something that you could download for free. So that's it. Yes, I know it's early, but it's marketing. We don't have to go on and on. This is not a marketing class. So last thing here. Looking at this, I may get the final exam early. Do you know why?
Do we have less during the exam?
It depends on the day. There's a couple of factors here. It's okay to have it on the last day of class. The reason that I say that is I may be out of the company, out of the country, down in Peru, setting up some stuff going on down there. So I may give it early. I don't know how we're going to do that, but that's there. Notice the final game demos are here too. So we need to figure out how we're going to do that.
Should just do it on Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving holiday, but a lot of people see.
Well, on Monday we have
Someone actually.
We can
take it as a holiday.
Just to put things in perspective, we are here, right? 10/27. That's actually the 28th. I think there's a thing here. There's no class on Wednesday. Do you see what's happening to the schedule? What am I encouraging you to start doing? Working on your final project. Look at the percentage of your grade that comes from the final project, and you'll understand why I put so much stuff in here with regard to space for you to meet with your project partners. Because I've given you that time. I'm expecting that you're actually using it to improve your game. Yes? A lot of people are like, oh, it's time to talk. No, it is time to listen. Do your game. Make your game awesome. Because if it's awesome enough, then you can include that in your portfolio. How many people already have a portfolio? Look at all the people that are not raising their hands. Right? You need to start promoting yourself now. You need to market yourself and say all of the things that you have done and all of the algorithms that you have learned. What have you learned in this class? I now am the master of inverse kinematics.
Yeah,
I'm making this stuff for a portfolio.
Yes, LinkedIn counts, right? I will not LinkedIn with you until you're in Studio Capstone. Or until you're graduating, right? But you need to make it through because I want to make sure that you're serious and that you're actually going to graduate. I don't want you in my LinkedIn if you're not going to graduate. That sounds ugly and harsh, but that's the way LinkedIn works. All right? So we're getting down to it. Look, we only have, what, one more. Mobile and casual gaming. That's the last lecture. That's the last time I'm really getting up here and doing my thing. So the rest of it is demos, milestones, game beta, more milestones, all of this kind of stuff. So you can see I'm expecting 3 things. Make your game better. Make your game better. And I'm going to drill you on that. If you're not doing those things, then I put a big X on what you did not hit. So everybody get it? Your game should be awesome by the end of this. So we're in the serious phase. Now nobody's like, oh, okay. All right? Look at the requirements for the final project. Make sure that you've hit those final things. Make sure that you're leveraging. Is Justin in here? Where's Justin? How many teams are using Justin? 1. Where are you getting your assets?
The internet.
You're making your own. Are you the paper?
Yeah.
I love it. That's beautiful. It is. It's cool. And the crumbled up. Okay. So any questions before we take off? You see where we're headed? Everybody's on the same page. I don't want there to be any surprises. You should still be making videos. You know, when is our next demo? Monday. So please send it to me before, 15 minutes before class, which some of you are guilty of doing. Try to get it to me Monday morning. Don't have last-minute technical difficulties. That says, you know what, I didn't prepare. I'm a last-minute procrastinator.
YouTube takes a while.
Okay, cool. I'll see you guys on Monday.
How influential do you think LinkedIn actually is?